everybody. Welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hello to my family down there at the Deck Bar in Florida. And I want to wish you all the best. Your Dolphins will lose this weekend to the horrible New York Jets and help us make the playoffs.
Probably not, but let's hope.
I know. I can wish. Anyway, welcome to everybody. Welcome to everybody that's already in live. People commenting already. Hey, Noah. Hey, George. Love it. Welcome in, guys. Joe. I knew Joe would be in at some point. So welcome in, everybody. And Burner's here, too.
Did you see what he's fucking eating? Pineapple pizza. What an asshole. Who the God.
Who's the asshole? What are you talking about?
Burner. He eats pineapple pizza.
Oh, well, now we'll have to say that for the off season. That sounds like good off season material. We'll have to get into that.
Yeah, the Rats have a top 10 defense, Ryan.
Yeah. I think their defense. I said decent, but
their rushing defense is outstanding.
Their defense is good, yeah, which makes last week a little bit.
Last week the Steelers put one on them. They really did, and Najee Harris was the first back this season to gain over 100 yards versus the Ratbirds defense. They've been giving up an average of 94 yards per game total. So
Calais Campbell being out was
that helped.
Huge.
But credit the Steelers for going in there and going a little old school and doing was necessary.
To let everybody know, we were talking about this memo that before we started recording, this memo that came down from the NFL, which has kind of explained what's going to happen here now that the Bengals and the Bills are not going to make that game up. And it's unique. I'm going to give the NFL a little bit of credit here. They're thinking outside the box a little. You would have some games played at neutral sites if certain things fall a certain way. And Baltimore obviously is kind of on the outside looking in with this. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach Sunday, knowing that they already can't be the division champs. So, how does that change what John Harbaugh wants to do? But just real quick to want to mention as well our very best out to Damar Hamlin and his family. And, I'm guessing many of you watching and listening were like me, probably planted in front of the TV Monday night, enjoying, another good Monday night matchup, or I should say one of the few really good Monday night matchups. And we've seen a lot of football, guys, and I think I can speak for everybody here. We knew that was not run of the mill. As soon as I saw the medics get to the field, I saw them speaking into their mics and waving at people, and I knew immediately this was not normal.
Why does it take an hour to call the game? Come on.
There's no question that that's an issue. Okay, I just the last thing I'll say on it is it was one of the more alarming things I've ever seen in pro sports. And I can share a funny story later about my opportunity to go on the field in a situation like that. But
I mean, they pulled the guy off the field. And they told the players they were going to have 5 minutes and they had to start playing again.
I think the NFL claiming they didn't.
That has never been proven.
What's that?
Okay.
You're saying the NFL didn't say that?
The whole 5 minutes thing. Joe Buck said that they were told that, and that they might have very well been told that, but the NFL has said that was not something. Then Zach Taylor even said that our players started warming up in anticipation that we might have to get back to playing soon, because obviously prayers for Damar Hamlin and his family. It's a super scary situation. I've seen some nasty shit on the field, but that was totally different. Like, basically watching a man crumble and you knew he might be dead. Like, you knew
the possibility existed.
And it's happened before in other sports. Chris Pronger from the NHL, and even last year at the Euro Championship, Christian Eriksen fell over. But the one thing I do want to say is that, and believe me, I do not defend the league all the time, but I think what happened was people started getting really pissed off on Twitter about the league because they started hearing this and hearing that, and then in this age of misinformation or disinformation, that whole 5-minute thing was never true, false. So like people just started saying, oh, they gave him 5 minutes, fuck the league, this and that. It's like the league. If you want to know who really shit their pants at that moment, the league, because they were like, this is our biggest fear come to life. And even though we might be prepared, nothing can prepare you for that scene.
Is it possible at all, guys, that maybe what was happening was that because of prior precedents when games have been stopped for periods of time, that the players just knew, hey man, I got to get warmed up again. We're going to go back at it. They just started throwing the ball around. Guys started stretching. I mean, the Bills players, I did not get that feeling from. I mean, the looks on the face of Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, some of these other guys, I'm like, there's no way in hell these guys can play football tonight. No way. Because if they do, then it becomes even a bigger risk to them because they're not going to be focused on the game. And so ultimately the NFL made the right decision. I agree with what Ben's saying. Why in the hell did it take an hour?
Yeah, I know they had to check in with the NFLPA.
Yep.
Before they could make a decision. They couldn't just call it. But still, that process should not have taken 1 hour.
No.
I don't understand it at all. And no, I don't think I ever will. I mean,
ultimately
they did the right thing. But, it's like we were all sitting there going, send those people home. Look at them. They're all in the stands going, what's going on? What do we do? Made them sit there for an hour in the cold. What the fuck? Why?
Yeah, I don't,
I mean, how because I didn't go back and check the tape, but like how long did it take for DeMar Hamlin to actually leave, like from the time it happened to when he actually left the stadium?
55 minutes.
It took 55 minutes from when he fell,
55 minutes from when he collapsed.
And then So they waited an hour after.
No. I know. I apologize.
Okay.
35 minutes.
Okay.
Correct.
And then it was 55 minutes
when they called the game.
When they finally called the game.
Yeah.
So for 35 minutes, the league, and by the league I mean Goodell, because Goodell wasn't there. He's probably sitting at home trying to enjoy the game like we all are. But then you have your boots on the ground there, those operations people. So they're communicating back and forth, and they're probably feeding information to Roger the whole time. And I honestly don't think that, like, besides saying, hey, they had to revive this kid on the field.
Right.
He has a pulse. So that's 35 minutes of that. And then I'm sure at that time they're contemplating, like, okay, what's our next move? And they're probably judging the body language of players. And maybe an official did say, hey, guys, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just saying maybe you should warm up. And then that's where it came from. But
okay,
listen,
that would make sense to me.
I agree. I think the league has screwed the pooch so many times, and I'm not, and I believe me, I do not want to defend them, but I really don't know what else they could have done in that scenario because if, let's just say they didn't wait an hour, let's say they waited 55 minutes to call it, or 50 minutes, would we be that less upset about
it? One thing that I heard yesterday, and then I talked with somebody that I trust to get some verification on it, was a lot of people were pissed off because, why is the ambulance sitting there? Why are they waiting so long? And my understanding,
they had to make sure he was stable and he had a pulse before they moved him.
The longer they were there actually was better. They said that if you see the ambulance come in and come out, then that's bad. They said that actually it was better because they were getting his pulse back, they were getting his heart, everything was coming back online, so to speak, and that was good. And then they had him stabilized. They could wait for his mom to get to the ambulance, and then they left. So it was, again, it's a lot of social media, people just blurting shit out, and then that gets other people fired up. But all in all, it was handled well, with the exception of why it took as long as it did to actually postpone the game.
Yeah.
Now, the game is not going to be made up, and the NFL sent out a memo a little while ago, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Many of you have already seen it, but they've created scenarios where the Bengals, through winning percentage, will be the winners of the AFC North, and that if if Buffalo and Kansas City were to qualify for the AFC Championship game, it'll be played at a neutral site, which I find interesting. And I think a lot of people are going to start tossing their hat into the ring. Where's that going to be? They're both outdoor teams. Do you play them in an outdoor stadium? Do you play, that's something for another week. I'm sure we'll talk about, but I'm
probably try and find a spot in the middle so that
I would hope
fans from both cities can attend.
Right.
Which would be, that's kind of a cool idea. Honestly, we batted this idea around a few years ago, a few playoffs in a row, just to kind of take away home field advantage for the conference championship games, but also market it, make it a bigger deal, like a semi Super Bowl, the semifinals were really promoted as such, as a bowl game, a legitimate bowl game, as opposed to just, another home game for a team.
I mean, I get it from the ticket holder perspective.
Sure.
I would not be thrilled. But again, we're talking about, in this case, an absolutely unique and unusual and unfortunate circumstance.
These are horrible circumstances, but I honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing something like that happen every year. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it's different.
But then why do you play for the one? Why do you
play to win? You know why? You know why you play? You play for the one to get the bye, because getting the bye,
you still have the bye.
Just about guarantees you get at that game.
Yeah, but you also get home field. But before the 7th seed, the top 2 seeds got a bye. So then it was
right?
Okay.
Wasn't that awesome?
No, dude. It was
the 7 seed sucks.
I agree.
A bunch of teams that don't belong.
The Steelers
in the playoffs
still might make the playoffs.
And they floated this idea of an 8th seed. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I can't
Football Talk floated that. I mean, it wasn't that. That's just. I'm sorry. That's Florio talking out his ass. What I would do? What I would do is do this.
Florio's a Steelers fan.
No, he's not. He's a Vikings fan.
He's a Vikings fan.
He lives in West Virginia, but
he's a terrible towel all the time.
Yeah, he's a Vikings just fan. To make it look good. He's from Pittsburgh, but he's a huge Vikings fan. I've heard him tell the story.
He's from West Virginia.
Everybody else in his family was a Steelers fan. He wanted to be different, so he started following the Vikings. That's his story.
The purple people eaters.
Yeah. Anyway. Hey, again, our best out to DeMar Hamlin and his family.
That is delicious.
Everybody at Bill's Mafia. Shout out to Del Reed. I got a chance to see him on television. They had an interview with him on our local TV here. He's, a friend of ours from a long, long way back. He runs 26shirts.com, and he's one of the founders of Bill's Mafia. So he did a super job just kind of laying out what's going on in Buffalo right now. And just incredible outpouring of things going on there. So we send our best to Hamlin and everybody involved there. As far as our Pittsburgh Steelers, it was kind of a replay in some ways of the week before. Obviously against the Raiders, we didn't run the ball nearly as well as we did against Baltimore, but still needed a Kenny Pickett-led drive at the end of the game to pull it out. And sure enough, we do. We keep our chances.
Wouldn't you call it a
alive.
Najee Harris led drive?
Probably more appropriate.
I would call that an offensive line Najee Harris led drive.
Yeah, I would.
Don't get me wrong.
He made some throws.
Kenny had some clutch moments there. A couple of really nice throws. I thought the throw to Najee to win the game was an okay throw. I thought him escaping the pocket was really dumb the way he did. He almost took a sack. It would have been 4th and 15. But the throw that he hit Freiermuth with was really nice.
Really nice.
That was a great toss. Before that, when he hit George Pickens with that throw on 3rd and 14, that was a really nice toss. And
the Sims throw was good.
I thought that was his best throw.
The Sims throw was the best throw of the night. You're right. That's a very good point, both of you.
And a great catch as well.
That was close. I mean,
nice.
That was there. Like that defender was there.
You can feel his confidence growing.
Yeah,
was the point I was making. And he made some nice throws. It feels like he's moving the right direction, and that's all we really wanted to see this year. Was just him growing and moving the right direction and developing as a quarterback and as a leader. And it feels like he's doing that. So great. Kudos to him.
Agreed. Ryan, did Najee Harris take it to like another level the other night because, I mean, obviously yardage-wise this year he did. He looked like he was playing pissed off.
Yeah, and celebrating with the fans.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that later.
I mean, I a couple things. Yes, Najee is playing better. He's definitely healthy. That is also credit to the O-line that we thought they were going to be fucking terrible this year, and they're actually not even, like they're not terrible, they're not great, but they're solid.
But it's a night and day difference between last year and this year, right?
Oh
my God,
it is.
They of course, all lines struggle, but they've been a bright spot. So I want to credit the line because Jaylen Warren had a nice game as well. And yeah,
right?
I think Najee's kicked it up a notch. I do want to reiterate the level of competition that the Steelers have faced after the bye week. Okay. And okay. I will. So I just want to say that, okay, because they have been able to run the ball on all teams. Yes, who's their 2 losses? Even that first game against the Ravens, they had successful runs. But I'd also like to say too that this is this is another division game that they just played the Ravens a couple weeks ago. So. I'm just glad that I'm glad that they studied the film and they realized where they could expose the Ravens. Calais Campbell didn't play, and that was big for them. So when you combine all the positives, you get what you saw the other night. And yeah, Kenny did have some nice throws. I'm still not going to be too high or too low on him, but I agree. I agree that even that Raiders game, that was a Najee game, and so was this Ravens game.
Yeah.
And looking ahead to Sunday, the Browns' rush defense is statistically is bottom tier, but they have gotten better. I mean that by no means their pass defense is good, but I'm interested to see if they continue what has gotten them to 8-8. Imagine that.
Well, I can imagine it because all the Browns fans told us they were going to be division champs, and but. Be that as it may. I in our private chats that we have daily, Ben, you had some comments about Dan Moore. You thought that he's kind of picked things up since, what would you say, the Eagles game?
Yeah, something happened in the Eagles game. He gave up a couple of sacks early, and then he got pissed, and he started playing better. And I don't know exactly what it is, if it's just determination, what the fuck he's doing differently, but he's playing better.
There was also
he's not great.
No. And I know you're not saying that,
but since that game, he's played pretty well.
He also was part of that little dust up during, I think it was a Friday practice where he and Hayward, I think, got into it.
He and Cam got into it again,
which is something that we had not heard from him before. Cam, it happens all the time, with him. But we hadn't heard it so much with Dan Moore.
But you have to wonder sometimes if a guy like Cam isn't pushing a young guy's buttons on purpose.
Bingo.
Just to get him fired up.
Yeah.
Just to bring it out of him.
Yeah.
Aaron Gilbert.
What's up, shout out to Aaron. Glad to see he's okay and
indeed
has recovered from his loss to Georgia the other night.
That was a good game, man. That was a good game.
It was. The track meets, man. These games are just
I know. What the fuck? Somebody can play defense?
I
mean, Ohio State's bitching about the fact that they didn't have this player and that player and the other player. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. On the other hand, your defense could have not allowed 18 points unanswered in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Remember those Buffalo Wild Wings commercials where they'd hit like the button underneath the thing and it would signal the ref to like throw a flag and shit. Like both of those games were the set. Like it was, you would literally walk away to take a piss. You come back, you'd miss like 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
So what the fuck?
Yep. And Jennifer made a good point too. Shout out to Pat Meyer. I agree. I think that guy deserves a chance to come back.
Oh yeah, but he's got a 2-year contract. He'll definitely
he'd be back anyway. Likely
he'll be back. I mean, his line is just going up.
Yeah,
and as long as the arrow stays up, on a unit, they're not going to get rid of the guy. And
No.
God, let's hope they don't. I mean, the inconsistency in terms of coaching and technique along that line for the past 3-4 years,
huge,
been awful. You know, Ryan hit the nail on the head before when he said they should not have fired Sean Surratt after a year. I mean, give the guy a chance to put his own stamp on it. You know,
I wanted to mention too, and Ryan, you kind of alluded to this a little bit, the level of competition. Now, look, we all admit a win is a win in the NFL. It doesn't matter how you get it, you take it.
Steelers went against a pretty good rush defense last week.
They did.
Very good, actually.
What I was going to get into was the quarterbacks they've played.
All right.
You know, since playing Joe Burrow in November, losing 37-30, we've played essentially Tyler Huntley twice, Matt Ryan,
lost once,
Marcus Mariota,
Andy Dalton,
Derek
Carr.
Andy Dalton, that's right, Andy Dalton. Well, Andy Dalton would have been before the Bengals game, though.
And the Steelers lead the league. The Steelers lead the league in interceptions right now.
They do. They're making plays. They're turning the ball over.
They're also 32nd in fumble recoveries, but you know that's another conversation.
It is.
I don't get it. How can you be so good at one thing that
it's weird, isn't it?
So bad.
I mean, it helps when the quarterbacks you face are garbage.
I don't. It's just not their thing. Usually they force turnovers both ways, and they're +3 turnover margin. It's not like they're doing a bad job.
They have got the ball on the ground a couple times, just haven't recovered it, if I recall.
Yeah, but they've only gotten three recovered fumbles all season. And 16 games.
You have to assume that if TJ played a full season, he'd have at least 5 to 7 forced fumbles.
Yeah, 5.
That gives you those opportunities.
Yeah. Did you guys think he looked better last week?
He's looked better ever since he took the brace off his arm.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
That additional mobility has helped him. Now it also puts him in a position where he can re-injure his pec. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Knock on wood.
I mean, I also think too that it helped him that he faced. He faces a team that he does well against almost all the time. They really, Baltimore's offense hasn't really changed as much without Lamar. They do the same designs. But I do think TJ's definitely played better. But
you know how many times TJ Watt has faced Lamar in his career?
Twice?
One.
I was going to say, I think it's once.
Lamar has played against the Steelers three times in 5 years. So it might be twice. I thought it was once. So it's not like, most of the guys that play for the Steelers, they're not really that accustomed to Lamar yet. And when Lamar has played against the Steelers, he hasn't played well. So
I will say that when Justice Hill returned that kick about 60 yards,
right?
I said, here we go, Tucker field goal, that's game.
Right.
That's game. And I think it was the second play was TJ.
Yeah. That sack.
And you always
as soon as I saw the alignment, I was like, "Oh
yeah!"
Yes.
And I'm sitting there because here's a guy, he got Collinsworth because they kept showing Greg Roman and Matt Canada, and I'm like Greg Roman, how many times have you faced the Steelers? How many times have you faced TJ Watt? And it's just like, dude, you literally need 5 yards to get a field goal, and then the next play likely. I think Edmonds broke it up. Likely had a 5-yard pass and he dropped it. And that was not saying that would have won the game or not, but in my mind, I'm like, here we go. Here's a field goal. It's game over.
That pass was it.
Yeah.
It was an 8-yard pass and they needed 12 or something, but they didn't need that much for the field goal. I agree with you. And him breaking up that pass, timing it just right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Jennifer, that is wishful thinking. I would love to say that he's going to do that, but I don't see it.
I would say this.
It's possible, but I don't see, given the way that TJ is playing, and I don't think he's at 100% still.
Right.
I don't see it.
It all depends what Cleveland shows up. If that Cleveland from last year in Ben's finale shows up,
yeah, they didn't
yes,
care.
They
didn't fucking care.
No.
And I know this is gonna sound silly because the Browns are little brother and they think they're the Steelers rival, but the Steelers doesn't consider them a rival. It's laughable, right? But if I'm the Browns, I by no means throw the ball more than I absolutely have to. And they actually do. Like, I'm talking like, this is that moment. Just run the ball. So sort of what the Steelers did last week to the Ravens.
Right.
Like, rely on your backs because, they've been, I don't say talking shit, but even Myles Garrett this week said, yeah, we'd love to send him home. And I'd say the same thing if I was the Browns and really haven't had him, although the playoff game. But I don't see TJ Watt getting 3.5 opportunities to, let alone 3.5 sacks. But who knows? I mean,
well, Stefanski, he threw the ball 18 times last week. Deshaun Watson was 9 of 18. Now, he had 3 TDs.
And hate him.
But
right.
Their defense also grabbed 3 interceptions,
yes.
got them an early lead.
Yep.
When you have the early lead and you have 2 really good backs, why the hell would you throw it?
Oh,
I wouldn't.
Amen. I mean,
if I'm up by 2 touchdowns and I can slow the game down, I'm running it.
All I'm saying is that the possibility exists that they could do exactly that. I mean,
as long as Pickett doesn't turn the ball over, as long as our running backs don't turn the ball over, ball security is going to be an important part of this game, and it's going to be another fucking close one again.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, Claude had a good question. Najee is 46 yards away from 1,000. Is it still important?
Yeah, it matters.
I think it does. 17 games now, but I mean, I think it's a big deal for a running back to still hit 1,000.
It's only like it's only like 65 yards a game.
Oh no, I know, but I think we haven't. I don't think that, especially us old guys, we haven't gotten away from that yet. I think eventually we will, where it'll come back to more about yards per carry, things like that. Because it is only about 65 yards per game to get 1,000 now on a 17-game schedule.
It's not even 65 yards a game.
No,
what is it?
It's about 60 yards a game.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
for 1,000. So it's not a huge number anymore.
I
think it matters just for a pride standpoint because
I think it's a mental thing.
The season started out so poorly.
Yeah,
but I
mean, it doesn't change the way I view them.
No, me either. That's kind of where I'm going with it. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that this has been kind of a I don't want to call it a lost season, but yeah, I do actually. It's a lost season. It's a rebuilding year, man. It is what it is.
What matters more to me, and I tweeted this earlier, is that this is the first time since 2015 that the Steelers had 2 running backs that each had 500 or more scrimmage yards. And I banged that drum all offseason, get a competent, backup that could spell Najee, and they got him. And they're different running styles. They're totally different running styles. And it actually, I think it's worked this year. And so, success one year doesn't always mean it's going to be successful the next year because the 31 other teams adapt and adjust. But that is the O-line, and that 2-pronged approach has definitely played
for sure.
Has definitely played better than expected this year.
Yeah. Just real quick, let me remind everybody, the national title game is coming up. So if you're even inkling to get a little wager in, you might want to do our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. Download their app now. Use code TPPN. New customers bet just $5 on college football and get $200 in free bets instantly. That's code TPPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And man, well, I think Georgia's going to boat race TCU, but what do I know? George pointed out Jim Brown only played, most of his career was 12-game seasons.
Yeah, 12 and 14.
The only thing I would say to that, the offense was much different then too. It was also geared through the running game.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Much more so than it is today. I don't know. I think it's great, like Scarps pointed out. That
in his era, in his era, Jim Brown was Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl, like we talked about Franco last week.
Yeah,
he was. I mean,
he was.
Opposing players talk about the fact that he came out, he didn't have any pads on except for shoulder pads because he was required to wear them, and a helmet. And those 60s helmets didn't exactly give you a great deal of padding.
No.
You know,
basically a hard shell, and you had a web.
They had a hard shell, and you had like a canvas web inside, and that was it. That was also why they didn't use it as a weapon, though.
Yeah, well,
back in those days.
Touche.
So really tough guy. Ran over players that were trying to tackle him. In his era, was ridiculously unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there aren't enough accolades to give that guy, as a player.
No, I agree. And he was excellent in the Dirty Dozen, I might also add.
Sure.
I want to talk a little bit about Mike Tomlin. Did you just roll your eyes at me, Scarpino? I think he just rolled his eyes at me when I said
I didn't see it.
I think he did.
I
want to go back and rewind this fucker.
You can, but I don't feel that well, so I might have just been blinking. I get nervous.
Well, here's what I mean when I say I want to talk about
Ryan. You should have some of this. It'll make you feel better.
Make you feel so much better. Ryan, how would you grade his coaching this year, considering everything he's had to deal with youth? Different
I don't
coaches,
know who gave me this, but goddamn, it's delicious.
TJ Watt injury. How would you grade him this year? Because you were there for the 8-8 seasons, right?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Especially the one that started off 0-4. You went to London.
13 was 13. Hello, darkness, my old friend. That was bad. It's at least 2012, Ben got hurt for a couple games, and I believe we were 7-5 and then lost 3 in a row to get to 7-8. That was the only year that we were eliminated before the final week of the year. Yes, I was there for both. I mean, I can't give Tomlin an A because I tell you this all the time. The Steelers fans love playing the what if game. Well, what if they beat the Patriots? What if they beat this? If you're going to play that game, you have to play it both ways. Look at the Raiders. Look at the Raiders this year. The Raiders have lost like 9 or 10 times by less than by one possession. So it's just like
8 times by one possession.
Yeah, and then the Vikings, I think, have won 12 games. By one. It's just like you can't play.
Yeah, the Steelers last year were 8-2 in one possession games.
Yeah, they're
fucking ridiculous.
Go dig it up. I tweet it every once in a while. They since like 2014, the Steelers have been ridiculous in one possession games. They're very fortunate.
Right.
So I would give Tomlin.
And you don't have to necessarily give him a letter grade. I'm just saying, how do you think he's?
I think here's the thing though. I think he's always done a really good job. I just think that there's been a lot lately left to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
There has been shortcomings. Like I acknowledge that non-losing season streak is really cool. It's really important. And I also acknowledge that it was there.
Isn't that important? Honestly, I kind of hope it's over.
So
to him, it's not.
It was
I know
there.
It's not him.
It was there before. It's basically the Ben Roethlisberger non-losing season.
No, it's
streak.
not. It's not. Because in 2019, he lost Ben and they were 0-2.
Okay, that's fine.
And then he went 8-8 with fucking Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, who both
started it. Ben started it in 04. Fine. Okay, so it's like the Ben.
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Ben -1.
So I acknowledge that yes, he is absolutely a top. He's absolutely a top 10 coach in this league.
Top 5.
I would even say he's probably top 5. And I know Steelers fans, don't want to hear that, for whatever reason.
And I get it. They're tired of whatever.
I get it. But I'd give him a B. I'd say a B because
this team was 2-6. It was going nowhere without its best player.
I'd give him a B+. He's made some mistakes this year, no question. He has done some things that I would not have done, but I also look back at it and go, maybe he was thinking about things long term.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about winning this week. And he was thinking, okay, this is what this team needs to grow and become better as a team, as opposed to just winning this game and maybe not learning what they needed
Jets
to
game?
learn. The Jets game is a good example. The Patriots fucking game is a great example.
Yeah.
There were a number of games where it was just like, dude, what the fuck? But overall, I'd have to give him a B+. I think 2019 he did his finest job as a coach ever.
Considering what he dealt with
that team, that offense was god awful. It was worse than this one.
Yeah.
They were also
2012, 2013, the defense was fucking horrible.
They were 8-5. They were also that's the other thing too. I know they faltered down the end, but they were 8-5 with that team.
Yep.
In 2019, then they lost 3 in a row to get to 8-8. And even on that final week in Baltimore, they were still in contention, and they got throttled.
Yeah. But 8-5, think about this: 8-5. Duck Hodges is your starter, and what happens again? You run into Dean Martindale, who always schemes the Steelers really well.
Yes.
He studies Duck Hodges' tendencies and fucks him up, slows him down.
And it was
the Steelers barely get out with a win, but then everybody starts copying that blueprint after the fact, and Hodges starts faltering. And
wait, what year are you talking about?
19.
Well, 19's the Duck year.
Yeah,
19 is a Duck year.
Right.
Yes.
Ben, I think you confused a little bit with the undefeated year.
No. I'm not talking. Yes, that happened too, but that was the next year.
Okay.
No. Again, Baltimore the year before put out the blueprint to beat our quarterback. It was Martindale again. Okay.
Right.
Although it was even simpler.
He was there. Yes.
He didn't need a week and a half to come up with a game plan. It was even simpler for him because it was Duck Hodges. Hodges was hot. The Steelers were winning. They were gutting out a bunch of fucking wins. Yes.
No. They played the Ravens early on. That was the Mason concussion game, Earl Thomas, and then they ended
Juju
the
fumbled
season at the Ravens.
Where'd Scarps go?
He's still here.
Oh, there he is.
I can see his hand.
Am I not here?
Well, you're delayed in your movements.
I'm here. I'm waiting for Ben.
No. The 19th season is when Mason threw to Juju and Marlon Humphrey knocked it away overtime. Right.
Correct.
Then we finished the year
at
that was Baltimore
because Mason was out of the game.
Right. So it would have been Duck at that point. But
yes.
And then we also lost the week before at the Jets.
And then the Bills out Sunday Night Football at home. So
Correct.
they were 8-5. They lost to the Bills, at the Jets, at the Ravens.
Right. And just to piggyback now on Ben's point is Martindale, in Baltimore, I think we did not really give that as much credit as we should have going into that game. We should.
That guy was always fucking great against us.
Look what he's done with the Giants. He's got him in the playoffs.
He was good earlier in the year in that game too. He knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
He always is. He's always good against the Steelers. That fucking guy knows the Steelers. He knows our tendencies. He knows our personnel.
Giants in the play, or Steelers Giants in the Super Bowl.
Dean,
that's gonna happen.
Hey.
Anyway,
don't count it out, baby. Don't count it out. We get that
fucking Duck Hodges.
Duck Hodges.
That year, though, I know at the end they faltered. They fell down.
Yeah, it was a good coaching year.
They had a quarterback who they had a practice squad quarterback starting. All right.
Yeah,
they did.
Do you think
it caught up with them?
Well, absolutely it did, because as you mentioned, teams started to get tape on Duck Hodges at the NFL level, not just what he was doing at freaking Sanford or whatever it was. So they could plan for him a lot better. What I was getting to with Tomlin, do you think he regrets at all the way he went about Pickett in the training camp? I mean, as quickly as he went to him in Game 4, do you think he wishes he would have gone to him a little more often with the ones in training camp?
No, I think that he arrived at the reality that this was going to be his guy. He needed a spark in that game. He needed a spark badly. And because the offense was doing nothing, and Mitch was playing tentative, and it just wasn't pretty.
Yeah. Oh,
I was surprised it happened. I really was very surprised it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was even more surprised by how shitty the defense played that game, and that there were no adjustments made in the second half. But
and oh my God, Mike White's not going to play for the Jets this weekend. So it's either going to and I know we have to handle our own business, but it's either going to be Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco.
It's gonna be Zach Wilson, according to Robin Seela today. He said we're riding. What he said was we're riding Zach Wilson come hell or high water. We're backing him. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh,
and I know Miami's defense isn't that great, but like if you're Mike McDaniel and I'll say it right now. I do not think the Jets are going to beat the Dolphins.
It's Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
for fuck's sake.
I mean, he only does well against the Steelers.
Man, if I'm the Dolphins, you hand the ball off to Mostert and just
Jeff Wilson Jr.
Yeah, I in that assuming Tua is not playing it from all sounds, it sounds
Who's
like
their quarterback? Taylor Swift.
Swifty, Taylor, Skyler
Swift. Are you shitting?
It's a new Gene Heartthrob.
Skylar
Thompson.
Skylar Thompson.
Yeah. Kansas State, I think he is.
His father was Hunter S. Thompson.
But the other thing, too, is doesn't this whole thing from Monday night, doesn't it affect the Bills now against the Patriots?
Maybe.
Do they need that game as much as they did before?
From a mental standpoint, well, I mean, they're pretty much
because they're kind of locked now.
Yeah, they're pretty much the 2 seed now. But they can win, and if KC falters, they're the 1 seed. So maybe they do want to win.
So they would get the bye, but they would be at a neutral site.
They're professionals. They're going to want to win regardless.
I would think,
but. Are they going to be mentally prepared to go out there and play a game hard after what happened last week?
That's the $64,000 question.
Double-edged sword.
I don't know. Emotion. I have no fucking idea. That would be horrible.
So the Chiefs, if the Chiefs win Saturday night,
right? They
lock up the 1. However, the Bills absolutely want to win on Sunday for DeMar Hamlin, but according to that memo,
right,
they need to do everything they can to not go to Arrowhead if they're the 2.
And I see in the divisional, not the AFC title game, the divisional,
whatever. Yes. Yeah. So, and then if the Bengals beat the Ravens, the Bills can't lose that because then the Bengals would get the 2.
Man. Yeah,
so they would both be 12-4.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look at it.
So the Bills absolutely want to win this game on Sunday. So I don't think the Patriots are going to win. So then that leaves the Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't trust the Pats' offense enough. But I don't think Buffalo's defense is great.
I don't think the Steelers are getting in. I just want to beat the Browns.
I'm with you, Ben. I will be happy if they beat Cleveland.
I just want to beat the Browns
and
let the chips fall where they may.
Exactly.
Yep. If the Steelers get in as the sacrificial 7 seed, okay. I think being a 7 seed sucks and that you don't deserve to get in the playoffs. It's bullshit. But if the Steelers get in, fine. I just want to beat the Browns. That's all I want. I just want to beat the fucking Browns.
I'm with you.
Because I hate their goddamn fans. I don't really give a shit about the Browns. They're pretty much inconsequential. I mean, I'm pretty indifferent about the team. Yeah, every once in a while, Myles Garrett pops off and says something stupid. They got a fucking predator at quarterback. Yeah, whatever, fine. But beyond that, I mean, it's Cleveland. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2 decades of fucking abject futility. Who gives a shit? Honestly.
Okay, so Aaron says, I'll post it up here on the screen. My brothers do not want Tomlin to have a winning season, so we need this win. That's right. Aaron is in a house full of Browns fans.
Bronze.
I vote for the Browns. Yeah. So, I'm with you. I just want to beat Cleveland and then let things fall where they may. Do you guys think that all these games should be played at the same time?
Yes.
I agree. 100%.
The Seahawks are doing some bitching, and I don't blame them because –
why are they bitching?
Well, because the Lions
they play
and
on
Packers,
the West Coast.
The Lions and Packers play prime time the very last game Sunday night. The Seahawks will have already played. They play like the 4:25 game. And what they do can then impact that game because if they win, then the Lions know they're already out. They can't make the playoffs.
So?
Well, their argument is, are they going to be as motivated to beat Green Bay? And I get that. And look, coaches and players will all tell you, oh, we want to knock Rodgers out of the playoffs.
There's only one fucking night game, all right? And it's Aaron Rodgers, so they're going to put it out at night because there are playoff implications.
Right. I get why they're doing it, but I'm talking about just the idea.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If the Packers win, they're in, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So if Aaron Rodgers wins and he's in, they're putting Aaron Rodgers. See a 3-time MVP?
Oh, I'm not talking about.
They're putting him on TV.
Yeah. I'm not
talking about the timing wise.
I'm talking about the timing.
I get the timing. I'm just talking about ratings. At the end of the day.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking about money. Okay,
it's a no-brainer.
I'm talking about ratings. At the end of the day, it's about that. There's one fucking primetime game. If you have a game where if Aaron Rodgers wins, he's in the playoffs, you're going to go, I want that game. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to rise to the occasion. It's going to be a great game. And so I want that game. And I'm talking about from the network standpoint. They're pointing at that going, yeah, we want that one. We want this one over here.
No doubt about it.
All right?
Yeah,
so
I agree.
The Seahawks cry about it if you want. It doesn't mean dick.
They also are facing the hottest team in the league that could still get the number 1 seed in the 49ers. Because if the Eagles lose and the 49ers win, the 49ers get the 1.
Right.
Seattle plays the Rams.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They play sorry. I'm a dumbass. My bad.
Yeah, Arizona plays the Niners.
Sorry. Apologies. Yeah. So, yes.
Okay, so the Niners and the Rams are going to win is what you're saying.
No, my bad. I actually think Seattle can beat the Rams.
I think Seattle will beat the Rams. The Rams don't give a shit at this point.
But then
they're talking about having your bags packed.
Well, no, wait a minute. They've actually played pretty well in the second half. Now that I think about it, they've won a bunch of games.
The Fighting Baker Mayfields.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, Seattle's already counting their chickens, right? They're like, well, Detroit's not going to play. Dude, you have to beat the Rams first to even worry about what Detroit is, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell is this? I didn't see this. Peyton Hillis, the Browns.
Saving his kids from drowning. What the fuck?
No, I didn't hear about this.
You didn't hear about this either. What the hell, Aaron? Fill us in.
It's terrible.
Write us a long post on Slack, Aaron. Come on. We need to know what's going on.
Peyton Hillis had that amazing year, and then he was on the Madden cover.
Yeah.
And, if you go back and look at the Madden covers over time and you're, scrolling through and you're like, what the fuck is this? That sucks,
So
man.
It sounds like he saved the kids. That's amazing. Holy shit. That's terrific.
He's in ICU right now?
What's that?
He's in ICU.
Oh, my God. Jesus. NFL is just getting hit this week.
Swimming accident.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, definitely. Thoughts, prayers up for that guy, man.
Sucks.
Oh, my God. So what do you guys think is going to happen this week? Steelers, Browns, 1 p.m. Acrisure Stadium. Ben, I'm going to go to you first. What do you got for a prediction, man?
I'm going to do this again, and you're not going to like it, and I give a fuck. I got the Steelers winning by 3, and I'm going to say bet the under, which is currently at 40.5.
Ooh, that's high. That's high for the Steelers.
Well, it's actually high for both these teams because they're going to run the shit out of the ball.
Yeah. So what did you? I'm sorry, you said 20.
I didn't say anything. I said Steelers by 3. I said Steelers by 3. Bet the under.
All right, Scarps, what do you got?
I feel
here's a guy.
Here's a guy. I'm getting philosophical about it.
If Patrick Mahomes made
He's
that
getting
throw,
all misty.
So two straight games, the Steelers have won on a game-winning drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and literally, if they lost either one of those games, they're done.
They're done. Done.
So they sit here at 8-8, and they got the Browns coming in. The Browns are playing better. Steelers, need to win, and then stuff to happen to get in.
Right.
I just wonder, did their magic run out in these last two games? So you want to talk about Bills and the emotion? Could that hurt the Steelers? I mean, I understand that the Browns fans are annoying, but let's not forget what happened in that playoff game in the 2020 season. The Steelers came out flat.
Yep.
They had a much more talented offense.
Yeah.
The defense was pretty good too. I know they lost Bud Dupree, but the defense was pretty good too.
Right.
And they just got throttled.
Yep.
I'm not expecting that by any means.
I didn't see a high. I don't know.
But this reminds me of the 2018 season finale at home against the Bengals. The Bengals were garbage.
Okay.
And threw a pick six. I think Juju had a touchdown that was the game winner, and the Steelers didn't make the playoffs that year, but they won. I'm feeling the same type of vibe. And I believe the Steelers beat the Bengals. It was a Boz walk-off. So I'm going to go with probably 3-point victory, but I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
And
I just want to remind the listening audience that he took the Ravens last week too.
That's fine. But I will say this. I picked the Steelers to go 8-9 this year. And
so did I.
Regardless of how they got there, they got there. And I know Deshaun Watson.
I think we all pretty much said 8 or 9 wins.
Hate him, like him. I don't know many people that like him, but he is playing better. He is still a really good quarterback.
His numbers are shit.
Because our guy's so much better.
I wasn't making a comparison. I was just saying his numbers are worse than Zach Wilson's.
Look,
Pickett's?
Yeah,
I took
Deshaun Watson's.
Noah, how am I the worst Steelers fan? Because I'm honest. Because
Scarpino is the worst Steelers fan because you know why? It's not because he picks against them to win. It's because he loves Mason Rudolph.
That's exactly what
I said.
I too have picked against the Steelers the last 2 weeks. I took the Raiders. I took
you
the
picked
Ravens
against them again. Go ahead.
And I feel like if I don't pick against them, then I'm jinxing them. So
you guys can both be wrong again.
I don't mind being wrong. I'm wrong all the time.
I was wrong last week for that matter.
I'm actually going to get crazy here. I think there's going to be more points than we imagine. I think it's going to end up being 23-20 Browns. Yeah, I'm going the over.
Dad, we're terrible.
I'm going the over. Hey, look, this train that Tomlin's got with winning seasons, man, it's got to end at some point.
I mean, honestly, that wouldn't be terrible. I would be okay with the winning season thing being not a talking point anymore.
That's part of it.
Pretty fucking sick of it.
Yeah.
By the same token, it's the Browns. I just can't. I cannot be like, and the Browns fucking suck. Their rushing defense is shit. The Steelers have apparently become a grind the ball out, run the ball team. This is now their identity, which I'm fine with.
I'm fine.
So I'm looking at that and I'm going, okay. So if we have more than 3 fucking drives in the first half, like we had 2 weeks ago, it'll be an easier win. And of course, Boswell's got to kick the goddamn ball correctly, unlike last week.
Helpful. 3 out of 4, but man, he's got to be.
I also too. When's the last? They haven't been swept by the Browns.
The Browns.
89? Is that it?
I would think it's got to be. Yeah.
I don't know. I look back to that 95 season when the Steelers beat him 3 times in a row. That was beautiful.
I mean, I know TJ Watt didn't play in that first game, but like Jacoby Brissett was like lighting it up. Like Deshaun Watson is so much better, and Amari Cooper is still a stud. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a rising star.
He's playing well.
They got a
Yeah, Cooper's playing well.
I think we're playing well too. I just think we run out of magic eventually. And
and
if they do get in the playoffs,
I think they're going to run the ball against us. And the Steelers are not okay, I'm not going to make the case the Steelers are a good rush defense. However, there are no good rush defenses in the entire NFL, I am finding. The Steelers have gotten better over the second half of the season, and they are now they're tied for the number 4 rush defense in the league in terms of yards per carry at 4.1 yards per carry. And if they can play as well as they played last week against the rush, and that's kind of what I'm expecting here. I'm not expecting them to come out in a 6-2, but, more of a 5-3 kind of a line.
It was a 6-2 last week.
It was a 6-2 last week.
Steel Dad, how much time do we have left?
As much as you want. We have at least 10 minutes.
Casey is here, and we have a surprise guest for the Casey show tonight.
A surprise guest.
Yeah, yes. I went a little wild today with this. Speaking of that 6-2, so Terrell Austin today basically said that, basically alluded to that Devin Bush got benched last week because they had a purpose, okay, and that Bush responded really well to it, and that we're going to need him down the road. What does that say when you tell your former first round pick that you traded up for, and I know the injury, he's not been the same after the injury, but basically you look at him, and in the most meaningful game of the year against your biggest rival, you say, you know what, man? How about you take the week off?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And
you play a rookie
who basically hasn't played.
Mark Robinson, who has not played all year.
Right.
And you say, Robinson, we're going to give you a chance this week. Get in there and play.
And then the other guy playing not only has 14 tackles a game, but he can fix your furnace and your HVAC.
He's talking about Robert Spillane.
He's got offices in Dormont. I mean, and Miles Jack too is at the injury report. Well, Miles Jack is making a lot of money too. Like our inside linebacker are just.
Miles Jack is awesome when he's healthy, but when he ain't, fuck.
Seriously, okay. I want Bobby Spillane to have like 21 tackles.
You don't know how funny that is, because I swear every HVAC guy in my neighborhood is about 6'2" and bald.
Like,
just
Eddie went to Western Michigan, and it's
exactly
just like seriously, I don't know who's doing the game. Is it Gumbel and Archuleta?
It is Gumbel and Archuleta.
Is AJ Ross the sideline reporter?
Yes, and she's wonderful, by the way. I had a chance to talk to her.
I hope I'm wrong and the Steelers do win, and I hope Bobby Spillane has 875 tackles, and AJ Ross interviews him at the end of the game, and he pulls out business cards like Spillane heating and air conditioning, and he hands one to people. You know what I mean? And he's like,
AJ, darling, do you need an HVAC person? I'm your guy.
Hey, listen, is your house too cold in the winters, too hot in the summers? I know a guy. It's me. I'm the guy.
We've been incredibly hard on two guys, I think. I would say Zach Gentry and Robert Spillane.
We have not been hard on Zach Gentry this season.
No, this season we haven't.
Okay, over his career, yes, because he sucked. But boy, has that guy gotten better.
He has, and Spillane has gotten better too.
Come on. Spillane is still terrible versus the pass.
No, I don't want
Devin Bush any better.
Well, Devin Bush is marginally better against the
We're talking about an undrafted free agent kid from Western Michigan that's getting way more snaps than a number 1 draft pick.
Because Robert Spillane is really good against the run.
Yeah.
The reason they play him so often,
right,
especially on third downs, which I fucking hate, is
that's where
he's a sure tackler. He's a sure tackler. So they want him out there with a chance to make the tackle and stop the ball carrier before the chains.
Yeah.
Right?
I
get
it.
The first down marker. So I get it. I understand it. But then when I watch him trying to play trail against the running back, against a fucking running back, he can't do it.
No, I get it. I'm in agreement. No, I just, I don't know.
On the other hand, let's talk about a bright spot. Terrell Edmonds. Now that fucking guy, they really need to re-sign him.
Well, I know
it's not like He's not a great player, but he is always available.
Always.
He is consistent. He is good, but not great. All right.
I know
they need to re-sign him.
I know Ian's got, one of his 12 kids is not feeling well tonight, and that's why he's not here. But he wanted to talk about Edmonds tonight, and with good reason. That play, if the Steelers do end up making the postseason, even if they don't, that play to break up the pass to
it was a fucking Ravens win. It was amazing.
Right. Isaiah Likely, the rookie tight end, had it over the middle. Their whole game plan for that one play was just get in Justin Tucker field goal range to make it a 7-point lead.
Yep.
And they would have had it. I'm not saying Tucker makes it, but let's say he makes it because he makes everything against us. Great play by Edmonds to come up.
That would have been a 52-yard field goal.
And he makes those.
Pass. And he makes those.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And it was a
even
really
in Baltimore when it's cold, he still makes those.
Yeah, that I will be so happy when that motherfucker retires, man.
Right? Jesus.
Oh my God.
I second that.
Oh, he
just gets old and his fucking leg gets weak.
He's so smug too because he knows how good he is. And by the way,
he's a great kicker. He's a fucking Hall of Fame kicker.
Oh, easy. He is a Hall of Fame.
Boswell says this guy's probably the best guy who'd ever do it, and I don't disagree. Fuck. I mean, what can you take away from him? Nothing.
No. I mean, accuracy, distance, just clutch. I mean, yeah. Poor Aaron.
Well, it's different.
I believe that's what they call a duck hook, Aaron. A duck hook.
I think there was a guy in Buffalo one year.
Yeah, his was
Scott Knorr
something.
What was Scott Knorr?
Norwich?
Wood. Scott Norwood. Yeah.
What? Who?
Speaking of Hall of Fame, by the way, neither Hines Ward nor James Harrison made the list of finalists.
Nobody's surprised by Hines Ward, right? I mean, neither one of you guys are surprised by that. I know Ian's not.
I'm not surprised by it. And as I always say, as a football player, I believe he deserves it, but I understand he won't get in. Does that make sense?
He won't get in.
He won't get in. There's too many receivers that are going to have too many numbers.
But aren't you guys surprised by James Harrison not being a top 15 finalist?
I am a little bit, especially when you look at who made it and who didn't.
No.
I am. Zach fucking Thomas? Are you kidding me?
Are you really going to shit on Zach Thomas right now?
Yeah, I'm going to shit on Zach Thomas. You got to be fucking kidding me. Albert Lewis? You got to be fucking kidding me.
Why are you shitting on Albert Lewis?
I'm not saying that there aren't 5 guys in that list that are better than James, because I think there are.
I mean,
that had better careers.
Revis, Joe Thomas, first ballot. That's easy.
Yeah, Joe Thomas. As a Steelers fan, I don't like Joe Thomas. I think he's a fucking jackass. I also know that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yes.
I know that.
Yep.
He was a great player.
Yeah.
I can't believe that he didn't get into the finalists list.
Now look at Noah saying doesn't think Hester deserves to be in. Now that's interesting. Why, Noah? Just kickoff return's not a big deal.
As a special teams player, maybe. Honestly, yeah, it's a special teams player.
Can we get a T-shirt? Why are you shitting
on Albert?
I will ask Dan. I'm sure he probably will, but
with Scarf's face on it.
Well, it's so again, and this is no disrespect to James Harrison because he has arguably he is a defensive player of the year and he's arguably one of the biggest plays in Super Bowl history.
No doubt.
Okay,
no doubt.
But we fall in love with the underdog story of James Harrison, and an underdog story does not always get you to the finish line. So that's why I believe Hines is more worthy than James to be in the Hall of Fame.
You got to be kidding me. Seriously?
Dude, Hines was like a pillar for so long.
Hines was never among the best of his peers, ever. He was never – I'm sorry. There's no stat for devastating downfield blocks That doesn't exist. All right. Hines was great at that, but he was never, ever among the best of his peers.
By the way, I believe Greg Warren deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
He has
for being a great long snapper.
Yes,
he has 1,000 catches, 10,000 yards.
Great. He was a great possession receiver.
85 TDs.
Yeah, cool. He was a great possession receiver. Art Monk took forever to get in the league.
James Harrison doesn't.
James Harrison was among the best at the edge position. For a lot of years.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Scarps, make your argument.
He has 80.5 sacks. 80.5 sacks as an edge.
And some picks.
TJ
and a bunch of pummel recoveries. and a bunch of this.
TJ is going to pass Harrison.
TJ doesn't drop back in coverage as often as Steelers linebackers used to. He doesn't do that anymore. Every once in a great while, TJ is playing back off the ball. But for the most part, TJ is a straight ahead player. The Steelers run basically they run a 4-3 now.
Okay. If you look at the other edges in that list, cheers.
Yeah.
If you look at the other edges in that list, James Harrison is not better than any of them.
I disagree with you.
He's not better than Dwight Freeney. He's not better than Jared Allen. He's not better than DeMarcus Ware. I think he's probably
he's not better than DeMarcus Ware.
Comparable to Robert Mathis, but I don't think Mathis made it.
Again, what he was asked to do over the course of his career was different than what those guys did.
Okay,
if he rushed every snap like those guys did, he would have well over 100 sacks.
Okay, if Hines didn't want to rip somebody's head off on every play, he might have more than 1,000 receptions and 10,000 yards.
He was
those are big numbers.
He was never a guy who was a threat to score on any down like AB was. Okay, he was never that guy. Never. He was never a guy that defenses directed two guys toward because they knew that he was a huge threat and needed to take him away. Hines was never that guy. He was a guy you needed to keep your head on a swivel because if in the event that someone caught the ball in space, Hines is going to take your fucking head off. Hines was coming.
They also were a much more run-heavy team under Hines.
Yeah, sure, they were.
I mean, dude, could you if Ben was Hines' quarterback the whole time, you don't think Hines would have better numbers than 1,000 catches and 10,000?
He was a possession receiver. That's all he ever was. He was a possession receiver. That's it. And as a possession receiver, it's incredibly difficult to get in. It's already incredibly difficult as a wide receiver to get in.
As a receiver, it's difficult, period.
It's incredibly difficult to get in as a wide receiver, period. And if you are is a possession receiver in this era, it's goddamn near impossible. He's not getting in.
So here's the thing. Not every Steeler can get in the Hall of Fame. Let's just accept that as a reality.
Well, which is bullshit, but okay.
But here's the question. Here's the question. If you got your choice and they said you pick Hines or James, who gets in? Who would you pick? Oh my God.
James.
Ooh,
without hesitation. Let me give you another example.
The
year that Troy won Defensive Player of the Year, the reason that he didn't walk away with the vote was James Harrison got 9 votes.
Yeah, 2010. I remember that.
Yeah. No, 2010, James won it, didn't he? No.
2010 was Troy. 08 year was James. And then the Super Bowl.
2010 was, yeah.
Right.
2010 was okay. James got 9 votes that year. If he hadn't gotten any votes, Troy would have won by a ridiculous margin.
So I'll ask this question, and I'm just gonna say it. So you brought up Antonio Brown, who obviously is not one of my favorite people. Arguably, because he's a piece of shit, as everybody knows it, as you can see it all unfold. So I say
that has some mental health issues.
Don't get yourself in trouble, Scarps.
Whatever.
The guy has some mental health issues. Yes.
Whatever. But my point being is that he did he quit? Did he quit on the team?
Every fucking team he ever played for?
Every team he's been with.
Is that where you're going with that?
Are we forgetting about
every team that he played for?
Are we forgetting about James Harrison falling asleep in meetings? You had Marquise Pouncey and Bud Dupree basically saying, like, fuck him. We don't remember that?
I do remember it.
And then all of a sudden he goes away for a little bit because and I wasn't there at that time. I don't know.
Okay.
But he went away for a couple years, and then Steelers fans got all nostalgic about that 10-year anniversary of Super Bowl 43, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we love Debo."
Okay. What was going on? What was going on when he was being a dick and falling asleep in meetings, allegedly? We don't know that. Nobody would ever confirm it, except for Pouncey, who said, "I know." And I'm like, "Okay, so you were in linebacker meetings?" I guess not. What was going on? He wanted to play. He wasn't playing.
Yeah. They said he said they lied to him.
The defense was simplified. He was bitching about that. He didn't like it. He wanted the fuck out. So he did some shit to get himself released, which is childish. I agree with you.
Yep.
And he got released. That was
I got news for you. Antonio Brown's getting in the Hall of Fame.
100% first ballot.
Yeah, regardless of what kind of dick he is,
now,
he's getting in the Hall of Fame.
Okay,
first ballot.
I'm not gonna say.
I'm not saying first ballot.
I'm not gonna say 100%, but I am
first ballot.
I did. I know. And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna take that back and correct myself.
Somebody did.
I did because I there's a precedent with T.O. Right.
That's what I was thinking.
Terrell Owens was an absolute ass to the media.
Everybody.
Antonio Brown was an absolute ass to the media, as Scarps can attest. You don't have to confirm it. It's fine. He was an absolute ass to the media. He was a fucking jackass. And those guys all vote on the Hall of Fame. So I think there have been some things since then, and he's quit on, like we talked about before, he's quit on every team he's ever played for. He quit on the Steelers. He quit on the Raiders. He quit on Tampa.
Bills.
That's not true. The Bills, he didn't actually go. He didn't quit on.
They're happy that they got Stephon Diggs instead.
Right? He didn't quit on New England. They cut him. Right. They were like, "Fuck you, get the hell out of here." So he didn't quit on them, but he quit on almost every team he played for in the NFL. And he was an asshole to all the media. So he might not get in first ballot. The media might punish him, but he is definitely getting in 100%. The guy was.
I don't know.
No, don't
the most talented Steelers receiver I've ever seen. He and Ben were ridiculous together for 5 years. It was.
I mean, it helps
it's
when
sad they got nothing to show for
it. Yeah, they never won a damn thing, and Ben used to force the ball to him just so he didn't have to hear his mouth.
You think so?
I know so. But that was the whole point. That was the whole point of the tweet that he responded to. Like he was acting like an ass, and he should be thankful that he got drafted to a team with a quarterback of Ben's caliber. Yeah. Ben absolutely got that dude paid. Yeah. Absolutely. Then did the dude have some of the greatest hands and feet I've ever seen? Yes. Did he catch anything in his direction? Yes. But at the end of the day, it helps when your quarterback is literally forcing you the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and he would throw the ball in double and triple coverage, and he'd catch it anyway. So if I'm Ben, I'm going, well, fuck.
And you bring up
Claude's coming hard, man.
And you bring up T.O., and I've said this on the show. Put T.O.'s numbers and AB side by side, and T.O. is so far ahead, it's not even funny. And T.O. wasn't
shit.
What'd you say?
He's a piece of shit.
Who?
Hey,
T.O.
O.J. Simpson's in the Hall of Fame.
So, exactly. He's also a piece of shit.
He's in the Hall of Fame before he allegedly.
Oh, easy there. Yeah.
Hey, if the glove doesn't fit.
All right.
Right. Do you guys view the Hall of Fame? I sometimes view the Hall of Fame like a 3 or 4 story house. Like you got this really amazing penthouse at the top, maybe, and then you got the different levels, maybe the basement. I mean, I don't know. And I know it's not that way, but I look at a player like Deion Sanders or like a Reggie White. I mean, aren't they considered the all-time bests at their position?
Sure, and Lawrence Taylor. I mean,
Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor was fucking ridiculous. I mean,
yeah, he was.
Fuck,
he was, and I
he was like Jim Brown in his era.
Although I'll say this about Deion, he used to make a lot of business decisions.
As far as tackles went, yeah, he did.
Yeah, but be that as it may,
I've said this for a long time. It's become the Hall of Great. It's not the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways it has.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Again, they're limiting the number of guys that can get in. The 2 extra guys that are brought in by the seniors committee or as contributors, I don't always agree with. Like Jerry fucking Jones. How the fuck is Jerry Jones a Hall of Famer? What fuck?
He got the league really rich is what he did.
Well, I like being on the podcast with you guys. That's not even good. It just came in my head.
No, but it's funny.
Okay. So yeah, there are some guys that disagree with being in the Hall.
Yeah.
Tony Baselli, God bless him. Incredibly talented, ridiculously talented tackle. Too short a career, shouldn't have gotten in.
Yeah.
The guy who played for the Broncos, the running
Terrell
back,
Davis.
There's a good
again,
one.
Should not be in the Hall of Fame. It's borderline, right?
Hall of Good.
No. He was fucking great. He was fucking amazing.
He was.
But you should have to be great over a period of time, right? Over an extended period of time to get in my opinion. But the voters disagree with me.
I'll give you one right now. And Casey's the bullpen, but Richard Seymour won the Hall of Fame last year.
Who did?
Richard Seymour. Yeah, I agree with you.
Richard Seymour.
I mean, he was really good. He was really, really good he was really good for a long time.
I think that, like, you know, I'll say this too, and I'll let Casey. Speaking of music, it maybe I'm just getting older now, but the young kids throw out the word goat, right? They throw out the word goat
all the time.
like all the time.
But the kids are really prone to the hyperbole, right?
Yeah, but I remember a couple years ago.
There's plenty of older people that are too.
Like Mark.
Justin Timberlake was like doing like a tour or whatever. This might be like 5 years ago, and like you saw on social media, and these young kids were like, "Oh, he's the GOAT." I'm like, Justin Timberlake is the GOAT of what? Singing? No. Dancing? No. Entertaining? No.
Man.
So I feel like
you know what though? He is the GOAT of Mouseketeers.
That's fine. There's yes.
He is absolutely the GOAT. He is the GOAT of Mouseketeers. Don't you ever try to take that away from him.
Fair.
Scarpino.
I feel like we get caught up in the moment when we think of these Hall of Fame things, and we just start like say, "Oh, Richard Seymour, get him in." Why? Like I feel like, and then we talked about the voting. All it takes is one guy to not vote, right? I mean, look at how they vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Some guys put in blank ballots. It's like you have a vote and you're not even voting. So I guess you're choosing your exercise. You're freedom to not vote. Anyway, all right, let's do this. I've talked a lot tonight.
Elsie Greenwood should be in. You're right, Claude.
Yeah,
Elsie Greenwood should fucking be in already.
Agreed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Casey Kasem.
Let's see if we can do this. American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was January 5th, 1986. Ryan from Pittsburgh writes, Dear Casey, almost 20 years ago, the American head of the post-invasion Iraqi government, Paul Bremer, provided us with one of the greatest quotes after American forces captured Saddam Hussein. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." And as soon as Kenny Pickett threw that game-winning touchdown pass to Najee, all of Steelers Nation felt the same way. We got him. That's right, Casey. We got our guy. We have our franchise quarterback. Quite simply, Kenny Pickett is him. Casey, I'm not sure if you remember, but Kenny Pickett is the Steelers' first-round pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. He went to the University of Pittsburgh. Speaking of Hall of Fame, he's on his way to Canton despite throwing 6 touchdown passes in 360 attempts. Casey, I don't know much about algebra, but that's 1 touchdown pass for every 60 throws. I'm sure other AFC defenses are shaking in their jockstraps. Ryan, let me stop you right there because there's another person from Pittsburgh that wrote me a letter this week, and his name's Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh writes, Dear Casey, hey, Scarps, you see that over there? That's where you can fuck off. I'm tough as nails. I have swagger. What I lack in passing touchdowns, passing yards per attempt, and pretty much every other measurable statistic, I bring it home with game-winning touchdown drives in back-to-back weeks. Next year, I'm going to throw 20 touchdown passes and guide this team to another 500 performance. What are you going to say then, hater? You are a hater. Whether you like it or not, I'm here to stay. Steelers Nation, I'm your man. Well, Ryan, or is it Kenny? Regardless, Steelers Nation, you're in for a treat this week. Moving up 6 spots to number 14, here's Wham with I'm Your Man.
Oh, wham reference. Now, wait a
Holy
minute.
shit! Wow.
Let's backtrack a minute here. Okay. First of all, he works in a reference from Paul Bremer.
Yeah,
I
said
never-
Reaver here, whatever.
I never in a million years thought Paul Bremer's name would be mentioned on this particular podcast. Okay, so that's right there. Then the fact that you pull out a George Michael, a Wham thing, that's pretty damn good. As soon as I heard 86, I'm like, oh, God,
And
what is
what
this going to be?
And what are the chances that both me and Kenny Pickett
Right.
wrote a letter to a dead guy
That is
the
amazing.
same week? I
That
mean,
is fucking amazing. Oh, my God. Scarf, you outdone yourself.
That was a good one.
That was great. All right. So
a
now
good
you've
talk.
heard Casey. That means we're out of here, everybody. Thanks for jumping on the show. This has been episode 301 of the Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida.
Thank you, Claude.
And yeah,
Claude said I'm
absolutely.
a sick dude. I appreciate it.
And as always, go Steelers.
Ravens suck. Obviously.
Obviously.